Patient, Jeremy W. Date and place of birth, 4th August 1977, North Manchester General Hospital. Date and place of last contentment, 8th July 2013, sunrise, on Arthur's Seat Hilltop, Edinburgh. Complaint, generalized pain and creeping ennui. Surgical procedures thus far, 802. Prognosis, delightful. They always wore masks when they stood over his bed, those thin blue, or were they green, surgical masks, but they somehow covered the entire faces of the doctors and the nurses and the orderlies that swarmed in and around him. Jeremy didn't know how they could see with their eyes covered, but it was a long time since he had realistically thought there might be anything human behind the medical garb. They wore loose, baggy scrubs, head coverings that gave no sign of hair, and thick, waterproof aprons. Whenever they were about to touch him, they would snap on another vinyl glove over the layers and layers of similar gloves that would have long since cut off all the blood to their hands, if they had any. There was no way to tell the time here. The window in his room grew bright and dark, but the light was wrong for the sun. At some point he'd broken the glass in a desperate attempt to escape, but was confronted by a fluorescent light installed in front of a brick wall. He had tried to count how long it was on for and how long it was off, but it seemed almost random, and the pain grew worse when he tried to keep track of time. At some point, in each lighted time, they would come, unlocking the rusty iron door of his hospital room and surrounding his bed 3 deep. Some were tall and narrow, others wide or crooked. None of them were quite the right proportions to be convincingly human. They mumbled among themselves, meaninglessly saying words like intubation, radiology, or stat. Occasionally one of them would touch him. The strange texture of their bodies was clear even through all the layers in which they hid. Eventually, one of them, and it was always a different one, would push to the front. "I am the doctor," it would say. "Are you well?" This was it. The moment of truth, the point at which all Jeremy's anxiety came to a head. They all leaned in, hidden faces focused on him as though drinking in his desperation. He had to make an answer, a simple yes or no. He'd learned the hard way that nuanced answers or stoic silence only made it worse. So he picked one, a roll of the dice. In many ways it didn't matter which he chose, as there was no way to determine if the doctor of the day considered his wellness an aim to be achieved, or a condition that required curing. Yes, he might say, I am well. And if he had chosen right, the mask would widen as though the face behind it extended in a smile. Wonderful, would come the response. Keep it up. And the crowd would file out and lock the door behind them, leaving Jeremy to wait for his next assessment. But he rarely seemed to choose right. The rest of the time a shudder of anticipation would pass through the medical things around him. Well, let's see what we can do about treating that, the doctor would say. And they would descend upon him and drag him away for treatment. Patient, Renee T. Date and place of birth, 27th November 1990, Royal Hallamshire Hospital. Date and place of last contentment, 27th November 2015. Birthday party prior to father's stroke. Complaint, facial paralysis. Surgical procedures thus far, 560. Prognosis, exciting. She always thought she hated the diagnosis the most. those long, excruciating minutes of probing and poking, of temperature-taking and needles drawing blood and mucus and tears and black bile and yellow bile, all to be tested and tasted and twisted. A dozen staff flapping around her like carrion birds, stealing a little bit more of her each time for their own clumsy guesses and painful assumptions. All the while the dread was building, focusing to a hot, tight little ball that settled just below her stomach and shot it through with agonizing reminders of her fear. Her face, of course, remained impassive, unable to show her mounting dread. Finally, one of the creatures would step forward, never one she recognized, and announce the diagnosis. Skin.